from this idea of God. And so, to me, Jordan Peterson's view sounds a lot more like the human condition, a lot more like survival, where truth includes, I mean, in reality, like a description of reality. And so truth includes the infinite as well, the ideas of God. Um, I think they were, I think they are a big part of the human psyche and how we even perceive reality, how the interplay of reality is for us in our psyche. I think the idea of the infinite is definitely in the scope or the realm of our language, and when we call things true, or and so then what is a fact? So if truth is given that big of a spectrum where it includes the infinite and the finite, that's just fine to Jordan Peterson's hierarchy of thinking. Um, where this idea of that we were surviving, that's and that's where kind of human psychology came from. Not so much that we just were observers, and because I guess we if that we were just we just observed all this, and that created the human psyche. But but we observe, and also we're in this quality of consciousness for us, but just for the it's just this narrative of survival that's running the show. And you're just as helpless to it as I am. And so I think that's kind of more where Jordan Peterson is coming from. So it is the observable world. Yes, Sam. Yes, Aristotle. But it's also just this narrative of survival, kind of like just the all the time operating system software that just makes up life, and that we just have always been doing that. And from also from observing things, but also just from life itself, and just not ever being able to, all you can do is adapt. You can't ever shut it off. It's just damn everywhere, you know and from that we have like developed patterns and being able to like write things down and develop tools like language, to survive better. So Sam would say that survival itself is driving all this, and so truth needs to include, and we were able to survive in all this because we have an idea of truth as, yes, it's in the infinite where it's just observable, very kind of characterized truth where it's 100% accurate, a fact. And yes, it includes the infinite. Like, it was important that people looked at stars. It's important we still look at them. And we still have ideas about God. Um, I think Jordan would say yes, you ought to all that. You need all that. And so, um, I like Jordan's a lot. It seems to make more sense to me. So, the question then is like, well, because then the question is, well, how does a human, and this is kind of where it gets philosophical, is how can you send someone off on the human condition to embrace reality? And with Sam Harris's view, or Aristotle's view, it would seem that you would be like this, full-time scientist, and his thing is meditation, so you would just meditate and be a scientist and just kind of have this this drive or survival narrative of like you find facts, facts are useful, you use them in your life. Um, and you find, and his thing is that you find some idea of like flourishing. So it's it's a moral philosophy. It's everything works out if if the morality works. So his idea of is flourishing, and so but the thing is like people don't live like that. People don't. People don't. People can't do that. I mean, I mean, it's just the world that we live in is so much of that, where you do like it's basically this characterization of the individual always trying to be in a rational state of the psyche. It's basically like you're always there. But with Jordan's, where you embrace the infinite, so you embrace rationality, and also you embrace the infinite, it seems to be more so that people are living kind of more in that place in the human psyche for survival. People are so ingrained into, you know, living, you know, people like part of the human condition is the life cycle and being here. And so families, there's a when the whole entire life cycle. And so, and why do I say that is because that's important to remind yourself of, especially when you're thinking about like philosophy and stuff, is that you might not be thinking about it right now, but that's how that's kind of how we survived. You were peripherally thinking about it because you weren't having any other conversation. The things that you were trying to express was to survive. And so when the human psyche developed from this survival uh, instructions from the brain to keep you here, and then so language would come from that, and so and kind of our interplay to it. And so what is the human psyche? So what is um damn, what was it talking about? Oh, I forget now. Oh, yeah. So when you think, when you're just a human being, and you're just doing life, and you're just thinking, you're just being here, you're just you know just living. What's happening to you? Where's your language eventually leading you to? And I think Jordan's right. It's leading you to these patterns and these stories and these survival instructions and these things that keep on happening in reality. Um, and they're expressed in, people